Northwest guy because you're raised in a batting cage, you're raised in an indoor facility, you're taking ground balls off of, you know how to work in limited space.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, and I know I'm biased because I'm a Northwest guy, but I will take a Northwest guy over somebody from another area any day of the week because I just think they're tougher. I just think they're tougher guys.
I think that's one of the best things about baseball is it still is a way that you can really develop toughness and develop, loyalty and all those kinds of things that we want out of young men in particular.
Welcome to the Pacific Northwest Fungo Banter Podcast, where we highlight all of the great coaches of the Pacific Northwest. Now, here are your hosts, Eric Sorensen, Jason Jarrett, and Kelly Gow.
Well, welcome back, Fungo Banner fans, to our next episode that we are beyond excited to have back. I've been thinking about this one since the news came out last summer, and it just instantly the podcaster from the press box to the coach's box, as we are joined by Ryan Divish from the Seattle Times, but most importantly, Ryan from the Havre Northstars. Welcome back to the podcast.
That intro, the video, everything, that's so professional. Like, I had a podcast and we didn't do any of that stuff. I'm a little intimidated right now.
Hey, when you get a farmer in the fall, when he's getting off the tractor a little more, I got some time to make that happen. That's right.
Yeah, I've seen there's plenty of farmers in my hometown and they aren't doing a whole lot right now. That's for certain.
This is the best time of the year to be a farmer, man. This is my favorite. That's for sure. I guess we've already asked you in the last time about your favorite fungo, but I guess the only way I could go with our fungo question is how many fungos did we break this season?
I didn't break any. My assistant coach broke one. I have I have an SSK black one. It's all blacked out. And it's 33. It's like my infield fungo, but I pretty much use it for everything. I kind of drop the pinky on it. But now I didn't break it. I broke some other stuff, I think, but I didn't break that. But our assistant broke one, and I actually got him. I got him a custom one. I think it was a birch one, maybe from Camwood. It's pretty sick. It's like gray and navy blue with his name on it, and he is just an assassin with it. Like, he is cruel. I'm like I said to him one day, he's doing outfield work. And I go, "Are we actually catching fly balls, or are you just making them run to the wall every time?" He goes, "It's just in me." He's like, "It's just in me. I got to put it over their heads. Got to simulate what our pitching is going to be like."
God, that's funny. Well, before we'll talk about the decision to go back and coach, but I think this is the first time we've ever had this situation where our last guest was Aaron Vaughn from Wenatchee Valley. Now we have somebody coming on who has a kid going to play for the guy. I mean, how awesome is that?
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to part of the first episode, and my stepson Tyson Brandon. I call him my stepson. He's not officially my stepson yet until me and my girlfriend get married, which I think she's peeking over. She's wondering when that's going to happen. I call Tyson my stepson. He's headed to Wenatchee Valley. We just had a signing ceremony yesterday. He had signed earlier in the year, but we sent one of our pitchers, Tanner De La Rosa, to Wenatchee Valley this fall. Tyson had a really strong junior year. He's all-state. He was our best player in every regard. He went out there on an unofficial visit and got an offer when we were there. And I watched them work out, and I really liked the vibe, the energy. It was a fall practice, but there was an intensity to it, but there was like a little bit of joy. Kids were having fun while they're working hard. Like, that's the best way to see kids work, is like they're smiling, they're putting in the effort, they're cheering other guys on. Really like kind of the camaraderie the players had with each other. And Tyson, had an outstanding workout, and Vaughn offered him. And I think the one thing I really liked, is he recruits to his roster size. He doesn't go 60 kids in and then ends up cutting guys, redshirting 10 or whatever. He was very blunt and very honest about how many infielders he wanted to recruit this year. And he said, we're offering you, and if you have this time frame to decide, or else because we want to make this decision and move forward. And I looked at field is beautiful. Town is great. The weather is always a little bit better, a little windy, but you're used to that in Montana. I said to my stepson, I was like, this is a program that's on the rise. They finished third last year in the NWAC. Like, I think this works pretty well. And invariably, like the moment he kind of committed, some of the NAI and D2 schools started to kind of text him and message him, but I think he was very comfortable with his decision, even though he made it pretty early. So I'm really excited, to have him. He's only going to be about 3.5 hours away from me out in the, Tacoma area. I'll be able to get some mountain high burger when I'm on my way up. I mean, like, I don't need a lot more in my life than that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think we talked about recruiting a ton on this, and like the fact of go where you wanted, right? And you go to a spot and you feel comfortable there, and you have that first love, and yeah, I mean, occasionally it's okay to keep things open, but I think all of us know when something feels right and you feel comfortable and like the staff, trust your instincts rather than kicking it down the road. And at the end of the day, that you try to nitpick things of reasons why you shouldn't. But at the end of the day, I mean, the landscape of things now is that where you start isn't where you're going to finish with transferring, and all those things kind of go into it. So whether you're starting at a JUCO or LSU, like there's a good chance that you're moving at some point in time, unless you're, through the roof steadily. So good for him. It's awesome. We're good to have another one to follow, and we're checking NWAC stats from week to week.
And my buddies,
last name, so we get it right. Well, maybe we get it off air. We'll get it off air.
We joked, like, a couple of my buddies out, and my buddy Brian, the coach at Curtis, so he's like, you don't even start where you finish in high school anymore. If you're really good, you stand up at Puyallup, is his joke. But, but like, no, it's honestly, and that was the thing, Tanner, our lefty, he got up to about 85, 86, and I don't even think I think he's got more in the tank. I just kind of told those guys, knowing even the many years ago when I played at Dickinson State, it was hard for me going in, and I ended up playing right away. Those guys were so much bigger and stronger than me. I was 18, 19 years old, and I'm playing against men, grown-ass men. And I felt like, at times it led to bad habits, and I just, you don't have the confidence because these guys are so big and physical. And it's just, it's in the workouts, it's in the weight room. And I thought, I told those kids that the opportunity to go to play against good players that are close to your age is going to make a huge difference. And my buddy, Dwayne Monlocks, who I played with at Dickinson, he's the head coach at Bellevue University down in Omaha, and they're an NAIA powerhouse. He talked about how he lives off of NWAC kids, and that he doesn't really want to recruit freshmen anymore because he doesn't want to teach them how to go to school and how to lift weights and how to be away from mom and dad and all that stuff and deal with the homesickness. Whereas NWAC kids come in, they played at a high level, they all lift, it's just, like you said, you get them from the right program. I don't have to do a lot of teaching in that regard about being a student athlete. They come in ready to go. And I think, for my stepson, a lot of the kids around Montana, especially where we aren't playing maybe the massive schedule that Washington kids do, and the travel ball isn't as extensive, they're not seeing that normal talent. So for them to jump to a 4-year and then see older talent as well, it can be a really a rough, rude awakening for them. You go from the big fish in a little pond to a little fish in a really, really big pond with lots of other big fish around you. And I think that you see a lot of kids wash out because of that, and then you don't want that. And like, it's different too, I think, than football, where you can redshirt and get stronger. Baseball's such a skill sport. You don't, when you're redshirting and stuff, I saw what the redshirts were like at Dickinson. They didn't get the reps. They didn't get the stuff that we got. It's hard to get better. You have to do it on your own. And then you're looking at opportunities for summer ball and stuff like that. And you don't necessarily have the resume that interests the summer coaches to get you time in summer ball either. So I think, the junior college route, especially the NWAC route, if you get an opportunity, it's really good. It's crazy how much though you have to self-market yourself with Twitter and everything else and sending out videos. And I mean, Tyson wasn't too over the top. He sent a lot of emails and letters to coaches and contacted coaches via DMs. And I posted one video of him. I think he had 12 triples or something like that, or 10 triples, but he only had to slide on 2 of his triples. And I put the timer on the video and they were sub 12. So that was kind of like, eye-opening for a couple of coaches that he can really run. And I think that helped him a little bit. But yeah, I can't believe that's how it is now. Like I'm sure you guys see it, just like, and then there's all these recruiting services. You can pay a lot of money for them to tweet a whole bunch of videos out for you too. I'm like, oh my goodness, because he was approached in that because he did a fall ball, of a travel team fall ball for Montana 2 years ago, and a recruiting service was calling us quite a bit, asking, join them and we'll post this, we'll post that. But it was a lot of money. And I'm just like, I think we can do this on our own. Hell no. God knows I'm on Twitter enough as it is,
Well, and I think too is there's not a lot of people that have that patience with the game. Like you're saying, Ryan, it's a skill set, right? And it's not like you're gonna come right out of high school or college and hitting 60 plus home runs, in the bigs, and it's learning from other coaches, others around you. And if you're steady with that progression, you're probably going to more than likely get a lot further, not only in your skill set, but definitely your knowledge of the game.
Yeah. I mean, it's like being around big league players and seeing their day-to-day process and their routines and stuff like that. And I told those kids and the kids that are going away is like, hey man, you got to find it on your own. Cause like you're getting older now, they're not going to babysit you. They may tell you what you need to do, but you need to find your own way. And the excuse can't be, well, I wasn't ready to go, or I didn't get my stuff in. You have to find a way to get yourself ready for practice. When you're going to do certain drills or for a game, when you get the opportunity, and it can't be totally reliant on somebody else's routine to get you ready. You have to find your own way. And that was one thing we really impressed this year when I coach, is just like, hey, pregame, we had set times when, I'm working on the field. I'm not there to babysit and make sure they're going through every little drill or progression. Our rule was we didn't hit a ball in the air until we got at least 50 to 60 swings off a tee minimum, sometimes more. But we had a progression of tee work that they got to before front toss and everything else. And we had a series of drills and stuff, but I said to them by the season starts, like, which drills make your swing, get you dialed in, where it gets you to that feeling where you're behind the ball, everything's synced up, you're connected. I go, you do those drills. I'm not going to tell you have to do 15 high tees, or you got to do, split grip for this long. Like, what you need to do. I said, but if I look over and you're not doing any of it, you're just taking, like, non-intense hacks and just kind of going through the motions, then I'm going to have a problem. But our kids were so competitive, and kids like Tyson and a couple of our other seniors were so intense about how they handled their routine that it pretty much rubbed off on the other kids.
That's great. I mean, I think like being around kids for a singular summer, like you don't know their swings as well as they do, and like you're here to help and give advice and whatnot, but like they have to feel their way through the things that help and benefit them, right? I think if we force feed drills and certain things on guys that might not work for them, their swing or their fit, like it's just gonna be wasted time at that point in time. So, and two, like I think it's important to know routines and what helps you out. But at the end of the day, like we can get caught up a little bit in our routine, right? To where if something doesn't fall in line that day, if the cage, the L screen's broke or the tee's broke and I can't do this drill, like it's not the end of the world, right? Like there's things that are going to help me out, but I think some guys get so tied up in their routine that they can be, almost like ground or skies falling down if something, isn't right that certain day. So learning to deal with adversity, learning where you need to be and what you need to do to feel good that day is the most important thing for sure.
Yeah, and that's not like, and then we try to tell them that's not an excuse that you don't feel right, or like, how often do you really feel right, or how often do you feel good? Like, come on now. It's just like, like what it's not to go like all David Goggins, but and all the motivational thing. But we just told them, like, you have to be comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable. That this isn't, you're not going to like the strike zone. I mean, you're not going to like. There might be no batter's eye or whatever. Like we're playing in Alberta in the middle of a cornfield, like, it's going to be a little different. Not everything's going to be comfortable. How do you just kind of lock in and get into compete mode? And that's kind of what we did, is like, hey, do your drills, and most of our drills were pretty standard, split grip, kind of load to launch, just little things that just kind of get them going so they get the feel. It's mostly just getting loose, But it's like our pitchers too. I said to them, like, I'm not babysitting you. If you need to do band work, if you gotta have your plyo ball routine, then you get your ass to the park early and you do it. Like, I'm not, once we have a set time where things are going, that's when we're going team stuff and we're in that routine. But if you feel like you need extra time, then you get your ass to the park and do it yourself. I'm not there. I'm not gonna babysit you to do it. And thankfully, and it's easy when you're in a town of about 7,000 people. Everybody can get to the park pretty quick, so they were able to do it. But like, no, you go on the road, you don't know what you're gonna have in terms of pregame, whether you're gonna have a cage. Some places we had to do on-field BP, and I always kind of loathe on that because all my kids do is try and see how far they can hit it, stuff like that. But it's like, how do you focus and compete when not everything is going right? Because very rarely is anything going to go right.
Yeah. Well, it's the reality of life, right? Every day you wake up, play it. But it doesn't mean that's going to work out and end in the way you want it to work out, and it's how you're going to deal with those adversities going through all that. And, that's the greatest joy about this amazing game that we all partake in, is that, you never know. Yeah, tomorrow's Christmas Eve, but you never know what's going to be like at the end of the night, so just got to roll.
Yeah, I hate Christmas too, so I'm like,
just got to roll with it.
We hate Christmas. Like, define hate Christmas. Like,
I mean, honestly, like, I don't hate all aspects of it, but just certain things just drive me nuts. But being with my girlfriend and being around kids again for Christmas, that kind of made me like it a little bit more, because they get excited still. I mean, even she has twins, a son and a daughter, and they're both seniors this year, but they still get excited. I mean, Tyson's getting a new custom bomb bat to take to Wenatchee with him. I mean, it's pretty sick looking, stuff like that. I'm kind of telling him, like, hey, you can't be hitting with that during your Legion season. You're gonna have to. We're hitting medals now. Not to mention, he made everybody in the house get in the lottery for the combat rodeo, and he got one. So I'm like, hey, you're gonna swing that thing. Bats, man. Don't even get me started on those bats. Oh my God, Atlas. It's just like Atlas.
What about the mitts and the shields and all that other stuff? All the other swag they gear up on.
Yeah, I'm curious about this one, because I had a few kids that just, our first base coach is poor guy. If we get a big inning, who knows what he's carrying back? And I was like, Divish, he's probably not a fan of that.
I don't like. I let him have the guards and stuff like that. But my first base coach, he would get some, if they missed signs or they wouldn't look over because they're messing with their sliding mitt, he'd just take it away. He says, got to earn it back. You don't get it. You have to earn it back. And honestly, like, we didn't have, like, we had signs and everything, but like, based on home, pitchers home to plate and catcher pop times and stuff, and just on knowing kind of some of the running stuff, we just basically had guys that were green and could go whenever they wanted. The problem is, and they complained about never, the old coach never gave them the green light to go. I gave them the green light, then I'm over there just looking at them with my arms up, like, are you going to go? Do I have to give you the sign? I mean, like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
We were at, like, one game, we just finally said to him, I looked at the first 7 guys in our order. Well, 6 of the first 7, I think, because our cleanup hitter is going to Montana State to play football. He was 6'6", 320 pounds.
It's a red light, yeah.
Yeah, he's red light.
To go to the Grizz.
But couldn't get him to go to the Grizz, of course. He apologized. I told him I was going to bat him 9th all year. No, I told those guys that were in a game. I walked in after the first inning. I go, you have 3 pitches to steal second. And if you don't steal second within 3 pitches, or at least attempt to steal second within 3 pitches, you're coming down and sitting on the bench. I'll find somebody else that'll run. I was like, there's no reason we don't just take every bag right now. So, yeah, and that worked. But I mean, like, it shouldn't have to. Like, then they start, God bless teenage kids, by the, in our 52nd game of 55, they finally figured it out a little bit about the green light. It was.
Yeah. Come on, guys.
You learn so much more too about like being thrown out in a green light than not running in a green light. Like we'll never know if you're going to be safe. Like we'll never know if your jump was good. We'll never know if you time the pitcher's shoulders or the pitcher's first move or whatever that might be, right? Like anything in this game, like it's so much better to be aggressive, especially in settings that maybe aren't, make or break. There's times to take your chances in the season. But you learn what your limits are. I didn't get a good jump. I should have shut it down. Maybe he sidestepped on me. I'm never going to go on that again. Like those are the things that you're going to learn from it. But until it's a mental block, stealing bases is like, you have to, run, Ricky, run. Like you have to have the mindset that like, I am going to steal this base. And you tip your cap if he throws you out. Right.
Yeah, because sometimes like you give the sign and then they don't get a great jump. There's not conviction. It was like when I was catching and I told the pitchers like, my signs aren't the rule of law. I want them to be. I think they should be. But like if you don't believe in a pitch, I'd rather have you shake me and throw something with full conviction versus throwing something half-heartedly because you don't believe in it and you don't want to throw it. The signs are, I guess, a suggestion, as much as I hate to admit it. But that's the same thing with like with stealing. I'm like, hey man, like you have the green light. Why we give you that because we trust you to get a good jump and take it. I go, I'll tell you when you're red, in certain situations. Then we try to teach them too that like oftentimes stealing third is easier than stealing second because you're getting better jump, you're getting a bigger lead. Pitchers don't have that move. And I was like, and especially with a right-handed hitter up, it's harder for a catcher to throw to third. I mean, once they figured out how easy stealing third was, it was just like, holy cow, and we had some kids that were fast, like 3 or 4 of my kids that I had this year were in track and they were sprinters and they could run, and they weren't like, I'm sure you guys recognize this too. Why is it like always the fast kids are the worst base runners? Because they never had to learn how to run the bases. They could just do it. These kids, a couple of my fast kids actually knew how to run the bases, Tyson included, and it was nice to have that option because they would just go, And then like I told them, I'll never get mad if you get thrown out, if you get a good jump and you were going and you had every intent to do it right, and they make a better play than you, then you tip your cap. I said, but I will get mad if you take a bad lead, you're hesitant or you don't have the right reasoning for going and you can't explain it to me. And that was a good learning experience a few times.
That's day one. I have that conversation, man. Like, hey, if you think I'm going to cheer your ass for getting thrown out, I'm not. If you have a legitimate reason why you did it, if you don't, you're going to hear about it. This isn't going to be good for you. But I know we're not here to talk about them, but like the one of the things I was so excited about this year with like Josh Naylor coming to town and the way that guy ran bases, like we have a visual of like, guys, if you aren't picking up what we're talking about, look at that.
Yeah.
Right there. How many games did they win because he was able to get to third?
Yeah.
And now a fly ball scores him.
No, like our kids love to yell free 90, and I don't even think they know what it means sometimes. Free 90, I'm like, yeah, I mean, like those 90 feet matter so much because then like we don't have to do stuff, we don't have to force action. If you do it, take care of yourself. Like as a hitter, I hated bunting, so I didn't want to have to bunt this year. I mean, we did, and we could execute a bunt when we needed to, but I felt like with a bunch of 18 and 17, 18-year-old kids that were big and strong and fast, we didn't need to bunt all the time until, don't give us a reason to bunt and we won't do it. Naylor, it was funny. He just says, well, I just watched the game. Because I said, well, you go scouting report? He goes, yeah, but I just watched the game. I noticed like, hey, this guy's really slow to home. And he was like, he said one time, he goes, I was in the dugout and, I thought the pitcher was slow to home, thought he had a kind of a tell on his, when he had a runner on second. I verified it with the coaches and I just went on it. He goes, sometimes I even verify with the coaches. I just recognize that I can go. He goes, very rarely do I steal where I don't know that he knows he's going to make it. I mean, he's got the second worst sprint speed in all of professional baseball. And I don't think he got thrown out with the Mariners. Now, there are times where you question his judgment, like the one time tagging up, going to third. I think it was against the Tigers in the postseason. I was like, yeah, I don't think that's the best. Or it was against the Blue Jays. You don't run on Addison Barger because that guy has a bazooka for an arm. But I mean, like, he had his reasons for doing it. He believed he was going to make it. It just didn't happen. I mean, you don't necessarily like the thinking, but you like the intent of what he was trying to do and what he was trying to accomplish. But I mean, it's so funny too. Like our guys are like, they're in there and they're talking about, well, the curveball does this, curveball does. I go, we don't hit curveballs, we hit fastballs. Like, where's the location? What are you looking for? But I guess if they're looking at something, it's better than if they're looking, into the stands and trying to check out which girls are there to see them play.
That's important too.
Yeah.
Talk about the transition. I think a lot of people on here, Mariners fans, us included, and follow, and like you said, active on Twitter. Get the announcement last spring you're stepping away to go coach. Talk us through that process of that decision making. I think so far in this episode you've painted a picture about Tyson and the reasons. I'm sure a lot of that led into wanting to do those type of things, but talk us through that. What's it like moving forward? How do you kind of see this all shaking out?
Yeah. So at the end of the 24 season, that was a miserable season. They underachieved. They had the big lead. They blew it. Service gets fired. The Mariners weren't happy with me that I reported that Dipoto got an extension. But, like I pointed out, they're like, well, this doesn't seem like news to us. And I said, the other 2 times he got a contract extension, you guys had press conferences and Stanton was there. I'm like, he got the extension, just admit it, And they're like, well, we don't want to take away from Dan and this. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. And then it just was kind of a miserable place to be. And like a lot of the younger reporters on the beat, you could tell it was just wearing on like, is it always like this? I go, no, it shouldn't be like this. But it's just, there was a tension surrounding the team, the organization, the people working at it. And it, like as media people, we're just there to follow it. It's not our fault that things aren't going right. And so I was pretty burnt after the 24 season. I just was not, for the first time in my life, I just wasn't enjoying it very much. The travel was wearing on me. And then part of my life is back in Montana. Tyson was playing, his sister is doing volleyball and basketball. So it was wearing on me to be away. And so at the end of that season, I was pretty tired, and I had asked about taking a leave of absence and with some of my coworkers. And they said, yeah, no, we can take a sabbatical. It's part of our CBA and we can do this. And, I was interested. And then the Legion program in my hometown, the program I played for growing up and program I coached for when I was in college, my buddy, Patch, who I had actually coached when he was in Legion, was going to resign as the head coach after about 6 or 7 years. He just, he's got 4 kids. It's tough. His kids are at the age where they're playing and he wants to help coach them. So they didn't have a whole lot of applicants. And I just thought, man, this could be kind of cool. I could take a break from writing and then coach Tyson and his buddies, a lot of whom I'd worked with in the off season when I come back to Montana, and hang out with them. And I knew they were good kids. And I thought maybe this would just reset me and refresh me. So I asked Adam Jude and Bob Condota, guys I work with, because I they were going to have to wear it. Tim Booth, and he just got hired. They were going to have to cover and fill in for me once I did that. And Adam was like, you should absolutely do it. It was a big year for Tyson, his junior year, everything else. He said, you should absolutely do it. We'll fill in. Don't hesitate. You should go through it, make sure you can make it work. So I talked to all those guys about it and how it would work, and applied for the job and got it. And then, I probably could have told my bosses a little sooner, but I was hesitant. I think I told them after the first of the year, but really I was still going to do, and part of the way it was going to set up, I was going to still do all of spring training and the first homestand before going back and kind of starting my sabbatical. And I think they were more frustrated that we had discussed it so much amongst ourselves and not kept the bosses in. But I said to my boss, I'm like, hey man, you're the boss, we're the employees. These guys are my friends. Adam and Condota and Tim and Larry Stoney, and was still offering me advice even though he wasn't working the paper. They're my friends first. They're my coworkers, but they're my friends, and I trust them, and I'm going to talk to them first before I talk to you. No offense, but you're my boss. You're not my friend. And so we kind of just got it all set up and made it work. I mean, it was weird because I knew it was going to happen all through spring training. I mean, like I knew I was preparing all for it. And then I don't think I did it till the day before I left, like the last day or two on the homestand, because they were going to write something in the paper that I was taking a leave. So I figured I better put something out there. But it was interesting in that I was so excited about all of that, like coming back and getting to do it. Like I had an energy about the game. I told one player, I told Cal, I told, Cal and I talk a lot. I told Cal I was doing a big interview for the special section we did. And I told Cal, and then, I didn't tell anybody else. I just kind of disappeared. I remember Munoz was like about a month in. He's like, "Where's Divish at?" But no, it was cool. It was funny. I was back in Montana, I think, maybe for a day or something. I don't know. And Cal's dad actually called me the day Cal was signing his extension and said, "Hey, Cal's signing an extension today. We want to let you know first because you've been really good to us, and Cal really likes you." And I was like, "Sweet." So I was like, call my bosses, tell them all this stuff. Like, okay, I'm going to sit down and write this really quick so we can have it first, and pass and had it about 30 seconds later. So I'm like, damn. But, no, it was something I needed to do, I think. And I wanted to do it. And, honestly, like I looked forward to doing it, and I hadn't had that kind of feeling about anything in a while, like when it came to work or anything work related. I love my job, don't get me wrong. But the opportunity to do that was just something I couldn't pass up. So, yeah. And I mean, I am really appreciative to the Times because they made it work, and I know they weren't happy about it. But, the coverage survived, and I came back and covered the important part, I guess.
No one pays attention till August anyway.
That's right.
For real. It's Starbucks and Moto Pizza until we get there. So what's next year look like for you?
So I mean, with the World Cup, I mean, technically, I think by our union bylaws, I could do it again. But with the World Cup being there, Tim Booth's got to cover a lot of that. It's going to take up a lot of his time, and it's just not. It wouldn't be fair to Adam and Condota to ask them to do that again. Adam's got 3 kids. His daughter is one of the top soccer players in the state of Montana. I think, or state of Washington. I mean, I think she committed to Oregon as a junior, and then his son is a really good baseball player. Like, he's super smooth infielder. I think he's 13 or 14. He and Tyson worked out a couple of times and came out there. He's really smooth. He's going to be good. So, Adam's got his hand, and his daughter plays fast pitch. And she's the best. She's a little pistol, his youngest daughter. So he's got his hands full too. So I'm not going to ask them to do that again. My assistant that I had last year, Ben, he's going to come back and coach, be the head coach. And I'm going to try and, if Adam's on a road trip and I can get back here to Montana, then I'll fly back and help coach for the days I can. And, I kind of just told Adam, like, hey, I got to be back for the kids' graduation. I have to be back. I want to be back for Tyson's last home game, stuff like that. I'll try and do some stuff when I can to coach when I can, but I can't make the commitment I did last year, and it's, we talked about it. And the one good thing is like we've gotten some of the younger kids in our program that weren't able to coach last year to commit to coaching. And that's important. Like, it's hard to get coaches out here. It's a huge time commitment, and maybe last year we put in a lot of time. I mean, we have an indoor facility that is not what you call driveline or new level by any means. It's an old tire store that looks like a dungeon, but it's got 3 cages and mounds and everything. It's big. I don't know if you're going to get hantavirus or anything being in there, but it's in the basement of our shopping mall. It's really, but we were going up there 2 or 3 times a week last year with kids, and we're still doing that now. So it's just a big time commitment, and trying to get people to do that is hard. So we've got more people coming back. I feel like I'm more comfortable with where the program's at, leaving it after 1 year, just trying. Basically, I was trying to bridge it till they found somebody that could do it full time again. Would I come back and do it again? I don't know. With Tyson not being there in the future, I have no idea. For her, I think I think for my girlfriend having 2 kids go to college and now we have some freedom, it's like, hey, let's go do some fun stuff instead of being in a vehicle and traveling all over Montana and Canada. Let me tell you about Southern Alberta in the summer. It's a real jewel, let me tell
you. Speaking of that facility, do we need to try to solicit some fundraising to get you some L screens that you can hide behind? Or
oh god, okay? I saw that. Yeah, that was all muscle. He got me last year on the side of the hand, and I cracked a bone in there, and I'm pretty certain he cracked my forearm 2 years ago. I'm just stupid. He didn't get to use a metal bat when we front toss anymore. That's just stupidity on my part. But this year, we finally got these fancy new screens, and then I'm thinking they're just going to protect me. And then I leave my arm exposed, and I get dotted. I was like, it was not ideal. I have just been a magnet this year or these last few years for that. And I work with a couple of fast pitch kids too, these girls. And the one girl last year, she got me twice, once in the shoulder. And I'm like, I got to just learn to get the hell out of the way. I don't know what I'm doing. My buddy's just like, get behind the screen. But the biggest problem, this most recent one, I got hit. Tyson hit me hard. And he didn't laugh, to his credit, because usually he laughs. And he goes, you're not standing behind the screen. I can see your arm when you're hitting. And I go, well, I'm trying to watch your swing and see what you're doing. He goes, well, why are we videoing it then if you're trying to watch what I do? I was like, I have no answer for you.
Smart. He's getting too smart.
Yeah, he's a smart ass.
What were some of the things that you
background now?
What were some of the things that you maybe were expecting going into it, and then a couple of things that you weren't expecting going back to be the head guy there?
Yeah, I was expecting, I was expecting long days working on the field too and getting the field ready. We have a really beautiful Legion field and we have all the cool amenities to make it work. And I did that when I was in college, but I was 22 and I turned 50 this year and I'm trying to do that. And my hands, I'm repairing net and I'm doing fence stuff and I'm just even doing the mound and tamping the mound and putting new bricks of clay in and stuff. In a day, my hands looked like they were just, I couldn't even open them, and then just the physical toll it took on me. The first day of tryouts, we have an A and a B team. So we had 31 kids out and I threw dead arm to all of them. And I was just dead arm. The next day, my lat felt like it was going to explode. So just that part I think was I didn't expect. The travel, some of the administrative stuff. We have a really nice bus that we got, but we have, I can't drive it and I don't want to drive it and our assistant don't want to drive it. So we had to get bus drivers to do it that we paid and we had a group of them, but trying to get bus drivers, making sure that schedule is all there. It was really good that my assistant coach would handle a lot of that. He's a mechanic too. So when I would break crap at the field, the tractor and the mower and stuff like that, he would come up and fix it. One time I thought I broke the mower and I just wasn't sitting on the seat enough to engage the thing because I had adjusted it. And he just stared at me for 10 minutes. You're so stupid. So, no, I think a lot of that kind of stuff and, God, the music they listen to some of them times is just terrible.
It's really bad. It's start a revolution here.
Yeah.
Bring them back.
Yeah. I got them listening to some decent, kind of Texas country music at times because we had a couple of kids but their walk-up songs, my God, I wouldn't even let them have, they had walk-up songs, but we got to pick them to start with and they had to earn them. And, then when we got them, I remember the first week of their walk-up songs, my assistant just looks at me and goes, "We got to listen to this for the rest of the season." He goes, "Take them away. Just take them away." Yeah, they. No, I mean, honestly, I think that was just some of the biggest stuff is dealing with scheduling. So we played. This is crazy. We had 9 teams in our conference. We played a home and home doubleheader with each of them. So we played 32 conference games, and we really started playing conference games on I think we played our first one on June 1st, and we had to play our last one by July 19th. So you're trying to fit 32 games in that amount of time, like in a month and a half, plus our tournament schedule and everything else, and you're trying to, and these pitch counts too, you're manipulating it up to the last possible minute when you have to pull a guy, and understanding all this. So just trying to map out our pitch counts and our scheduling, I upset many parents, my girlfriend included, with how we scheduled some of the stuff. Just, we went and played a AA team out of Great Falls. It was almost all 18-year-olds, and all my older kids were gone because of track. And I messed up the schedule. So we went there. We're playing 18-year-olds, and I had a 14-year-old kid playing first base. It was his first Legion game. He came back. The kid we were facing was only throwing about 77. He comes back. He goes, "I've never seen a pitch that fast in my life." Yeah. So I think we had at one point. I looked at my coach. I go, "We got 5 14-year-olds on the field right now, and they're all 18 and 17." He goes, "Yeah, this is going to get ugly really fast." I'm like, "Yeah." So stuff like that. I mean, like the logistics. So when I coached the first time, we had, the head coach. I was the B head coach and the A assistant, but we had a general manager that kind of handled a lot of our logistics and stuff like that. And so that was, having to do that now, we went to a tournament in Three Forks, and something happened and our rooms got lost for the weekend. So we had to scramble and find rooms, and thankfully we did and actually found a better place. But you're at that point, you're looking like, we got 15 kids and 3 coaches, and and a bus driver. We're gonna have any hotel rooms, and we're in the Bozeman area. I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be a pain." At that point, I'm thinking we're gonna have to get tents and camp, but stuff like that. And honestly, our parent group was super great about being helpful. What surprised me is how, I thought a lot of kids would be soft and not handle criticism or handle us being hard on them and having high expectations. These kids, for the most part, they handled it. We were, because they were older and they had high aspirations. I just told them at the beginning, if you want to get somewhere, then we're going to be tough on you guys. So, and we're not, conditioning wise. I think one time we played this one team and they just got out of their approach, and I just told them, "Are we just going to keep hitting fungos all day to short and third?" I mean, I went through the book and I said to our coach, I go, "Find every 53, 63, and any 43s from the left-handed guys, count them up. We're going to run a sprint for everyone." And we won the game. We won the game 8-4. And the coaches waiting for us are like, "You guys are crazy." And I was like, "No, man, this is, and the part of it was we were up 4 or 5-0 in the first inning. I'm thinking, okay, we can save some pitching. This is a tournament. It's an 8-run rule. We got to, and 6-4, 63. I was just like, oh God. And then we had some tough times. Like we go to a tournament in Lewistown, Montana, and part of it is it's a team bonding thing. We ran a big house. It's like an old hunting lodge. So we all stay out there. It's a little bit out of town, have the bonfire and everything. They have cornhole, but we take their phones away after 6:00. And when we're at dinner, if we're in at dinner at a place where we're eating, we take their phones away and make them put them up so they can communicate. You see them trying to talk to girls. It's the saddest thing I've ever seen. It is truly sad. My girlfriend who's in the other room will attest. We were at this place in Lethbridge, and they had a pretty cute waitress, and they all thought she was great, and they could not talk to her. And we took their phones away. Yeah, they couldn't get their snap, And
snap.
It was just the saddest thing. And I'm no Romeo. I probably was worse at their age, but they talk such a big game, and then all of a sudden they actually have to talk to a female, and I was just like, these are terrible. But when we were in Lewistown, we pulled their phones, and a couple kids were trying to sneak their phones and kind of upset us. So we just okay. that's that important. We can take care of some with some conditioning, and then like I said, our parent group is so great. We condition them at the house on this dirt road. We're running and it's raining out. It's like a scene out of a movie. They're playing the montage, and we're and my assistant, the assistant coach of accountability and conditioning, he had them running, and they were just having some hard conversations with each other. And he said, when you guys were talking, you're doing push-ups. And I'm like, holy cow, And what was crazy is we're going to have a barbecue that night. So there were a bunch of parents there watching us run them. And I'm like, okay, well, so, and honestly, like, it was a great moment for them. And they really, I thought, got some stuff off their chest with each other, and everything else. And we weren't listening, but they talked about it. So then the next day, so they're all like, we're all good, coach, we're all good, we're family. Next day, we have this big Yeti cooler that the parents put waters and Gatorade, and they left it. They forgot to put it on the bus. So we get there, and I was like, "Where's the cooler?" And I'm like, so then I said, well, and they're just like, "Yeah, we'll run it." I go, "We'll run it." They'll go, "We'll run pregame for a punishment." I go, "Fine." So the tournament had been backed up. So there's a game getting ready to go. It's Laurel and somebody else. And I put our kids out there on the field because our coach goes, we're going to make them run in front of everybody else. So we're out there and we're doing, we call them speed pulls, where you accelerate, go back and forth. So we were doing that. So the Laurel coach comes up there like, "Coach," he goes, "We're playing now." I go, "No, yeah, we're punishing these guys because they got in trouble." He goes, "So you're doing it on the field for everybody to watch?" I go, "Yeah. We feel that's important." He goes, "That is awesome." Well, yeah, I mean, like, if you're gonna can't mess up, you can't hide about it. But we also tried to be fun, like, so like when we would do that and be tough on them at the same time, like we did practice, like earthing practices where we didn't wear shoes and they'd run around, catch fly balls in bare feet. And then we had the ice tubs and they thought that, like stuff like that. We tried to mix it in, like, for as hard on them as we were at times, and the standard we held them to, when they met the standard or they were playing at the level, we made sure to recognize that and reward them, as much as we can, whether it's buying them pizza or whatever. My God, they eat terrible too. They think Wendy's is like the best meal ever.
I'd be young again.
Yeah.
I mean, like, those guys are so hopped up on Alani and I don't know. Not that I don't drink Celsius all the time, but like those guys, they're drinking Alani and eating a Snickers and then going out and playing that. Coach, I don't feel good. I'm like, I can't imagine why.
Oh man,
Pains me watching you.
Hearing your stories, it's literally, I mean, it's taking me back to like playing Pepsi Pack baseball in Legion, and in the van that we had to stop on top of White Pass for it to have a smoke because it was like boiling out of the hood of our Pepsi Pack van. But
it's true. It's like Legion is different, So Cal Raleigh played Legion, and I talked to him after our season. And he was like, "Yeah," and he's just like, "It's just different." Like, I go to those travel ball tournaments with some teams, and it's like everybody's just out for themselves. It's like you go, you get your ABs for your game. If you did something, you're happy. You don't care if you win or lost. It's like, he goes, "But I was on that Legion team. It was all the kids I grew up with playing in my town. Like, it mattered when we went and played." And I remember talking to Scott Service about Jared Kelnick and that he had never played meaningful baseball where the outcome of the game mattered until he got to the pro level, because he was always just a hired. I guess he played Team USA in that matter, but for the most part in his youth, he was a hired gun that would go into all these different select tournaments and get his 4 PAs per game and, try and put on a show. And like, if you win, great. But if not, as long as you get 3 bombs, whatever. Like, for a lot of my kids, they're not going to play at another level. This is going to be, what they're going to remember. It's like the bus rides, or, we were in Lewistown. It's a 5-day tournament. We played at 10 a.m. and we had the rest of the day off. So we let them go fishing. They all bought their fishing gear and they went fishing together, and I don't think they even caught anything, but they talked like they were the greatest fishermen on earth. Right. Things like that, that's what you'll remember. I mean, that's what I remember too, is just that kind of stuff more than the games itself. So we tried to really impress upon that, to like give them moments where they do stuff. The one night we were after a game at home, we want to have some adult beverages at the field, some of the coaches meeting, and then some of the parents around. And some of the players are complaining about how they wanted their parents to come home and make them dinner. And I'm like, what? And my coach is giving Tyson a hard time about not being able to brown hamburger. And he's like, I can do it. Just tell me how to do it, And so that night, Ben just said, you know what? Screw this. They're cooking dinner for the entire parents. We're going to do an early practice, BP only, and we're going to have them cook dinner at the field for the parents. And so we gave them, they had to use their own money, and they could earn some money from us by like working on the field or whatever. And then they had to make dinner for the entire parents and all the staff that works up there and helps out, or all the people that come up there and help out, invite whoever you want. So they did a taco bar. They did ground beef and chicken. We helped them out, showed them how to do it, but they had to do all the shopping, everything. You want to talk about a disaster and them trying to do it first. I was like, and I'm just worried, like, we're going to give all the parents food poisoning, So, but it turned out really well. They cooked up the meal, and it was better than I thought it was actually. I mean, it's hard to screw up tacos. Let's not get it wrong. Nacho bar and taco bar, it's hard to screw it up. But I would have guaranteed that these kids could have found a way. But we did it. It was a blast, and like it's going to be a tradition from now on. Like, hey, we're going to do this. You're going to have to go. We're going to. But they're not going to always do tacos. I told Ben this year, like, they got to figure out something else. But it was, stuff like that they're going to remember. They still talk about it, like how good of cooks they were and how gourmet they were and stuff like that. To me, that's as important as any, like, on-field stuff too.
Mm-hmm. And I think
in 20 years from now, that fish was this big, and that waitress's number actually got on the receipt.
Yeah, that waitress was calling them and came to their games, and oh my God.
Well, and I think too, coaches forget they're teachers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're teaching these young men how to live, really. I mean, not all kids have perfect situations at home. They don't have maybe dads that are showing them how to turn wrenches or how to fire up a lawnmower to, cut grass or edge and all those things, or a mom, even to help them, prepare a meal or pack a lunch. And so, as we have the opportunity as coaches to become teachers, and you're teaching these young men life skills, and these are things that, I mean, you don't know it now, Ryan, but 10, 15, 20 years down the road, these guys are going to come back and say, hey, coach, thank you for teaching me, how to do this.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think that's the one thing you want them to remember is like, just like they took something away from it. It's something as simple as like when a couple times we went out to nicer restaurants to have dinner, and then it was like, we're like, hey, you have to wear your team shirt or wear something, you can't wear your game socks, stuff like that. And so it's like discussing that kind of stuff with them. And it was funny by the end, like, hey, are we going someplace where you have to dress up? Where are we going? This and that. And they were a lot more aware. It's funny, like when they care about something or it matters to them, how quickly they pick up on it, and how quickly they'll really kind of gravitate towards something. That's like the best part of coaching is like when they get it themselves and you don't have to keep preaching at them,
Yeah, that's the best. I mean, it honestly is. As we are an hour in this thing, I can only imagine the travel stories that you may have from the places that you've gone, from the breakdowns to the whatever. We all baseball guys know the stories that we have that are podcast appropriate.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about the travel situation. And I mean, you're taking kids across the border to go play league games, right?
Oh yeah.
It's just a whole new beast.
Yeah, we had to make sure they all have their passports. They have all these sheets signed by their parents, and we didn't know, like, you had to fill out. So you had to fill out the entrance cards into Canada. And so I go in, the ladies, like, you got to have everyone fill them out. God bless our kids. They don't read anything. They just start filling it out, and they fill them out wrong. So she gave us, there's 15 boys. She gave us a stack of 40. I think we went through all of them because they kept screwing up. Go, just read it. Look what you're supposed to write. I'm like, oh. And so, we got better at that. But yeah, we had to, a lot of times we had to get out of the bus. And one night it was 2:30 in the morning, and we had to get out of the bus, and everybody's just like groggy and out of it, and like for me, I'm a little dark in the summer. I was just hoping to get across the border, so they're all giving me a hard time. Yeah, it's I go in their rooms and the smell, I'm like, jeez. I'm like, you guys smell so bad. Like, good Lord. Like I forgot what that was like, sharing a room with 3 other guys. And it's like, oh man, terrified the parents, but no, it was cool. Like there's some long bus rides and some late nights. And I think for the most part, we were pretty lucky. So we have a really nice bus with, like the old bus didn't have very good air conditioning. This bus had air conditioning. And I'm like, and plus it smelled so bad in the bus. Like we get done playing, I'm like, oh my, like, they change out their clothes or whatever, but their feet and everything. I tell the bus driver, crank up the AC. They can use blankets. I can't smell this anymore. No, they were, it's like they were pretty good kids up at all that stuff, with the road trips. Honestly, like riding on a bus though, I think I'd take it over a plane sometimes, just like dealing in the airports and everything, get on the bus, just put my iPad on, watch a movie, try not to listen to what was going on behind me and the conversations behind us.
You want to feel like you're getting old, or you're out officially old? Because it hit me like a few years ago of like, I have no idea what these kids are talking about. I literally have no idea.
Yeah, like, well, for a while they were calling me Coach Crash Out, and I didn't know what crash out meant. And then my assistant's like, yeah, it means you have a freak out and you have a temper tantrum. I'm like, well, it's probably pretty fitting. And one day I said, you guys think I'm going to crash out? You wait till you keep it up. You'll see a crash out.
From a talent standpoint, I mean, you mentioned the connection with Wenatchee and how you found it there, and maybe some of the recruiting services and things that you were contacted with. I'm not sure if that was off air or on air, but how do you kind of see the Legion player? I'm not sure how much you've been around the club scene or whatnot on the west side, where maybe there is a little bit more of trying to go out and get mine than it is team aspect from a recruitable athlete standpoint. Like, what do you see in the Montana player, whether in your program or the ones that you go against, that maybe separates them and our guys getting missed out there that could have opportunities to play, whether it's NWAC or any other level of baseball in college?
Yeah, I think it's, Montana just got high school baseball, 4 years ago? So we never had that before. So Legion was all you had. Your Legion season was longer. They're still trying to figure out how to make it work with Legion in high school right now. But I think, that mindset of, like a Legion season, at least in Montana, it starts in April. A lot of times end of April. I think we played our first game April 27th last year. And then, goes through end of July, August, if you make state, regionals. You're some of these teams play 75 games. That's more than I played in a college season. Like so you get that kind of how to grind, like it's 70 games in a summer. Like, you better like baseball. You better be committed. Like that's a long time. You throw in the off-season workouts and everything else. And I think that's, there's a commitment level for a lot of kids that, like, because it's not always fun and it's not always perfect weather. Like a lot of times, I have a friend that his son plays down in Texas and he's a really good left-handed pitcher. He's going to Blinn Junior College, but he lives in Austin. The kid, his travel team's out of San Antonio. He doesn't really even practice with them. He practices on his own. He goes in and plays, and he has a start day and whatever, he probably plays some outfield, but just different, and I think there's a different mindset when you're playing with people you care, with teammates you've known forever, like you've grown up playing Little League. Like our kids, when we did our senior night this year, there's pictures of them all together as 8-year-olds playing on the same team over and over. And so I think there's a level of commitment and a kind of understanding of being a teammate, what that means, being a family. I think that's important. You can't measure that in college. I do think at times like Montana gets a little overlooked because we're so spread out. like it's so far. And there's good players all over. I do think too, though, like with Legion, what you're seeing too is like, because there's so many 19-year-olds that can come back and play, and a lot of them are in college, like there's some really good competition. So you're seeing some good arms, you're seeing some guys in the 90s, and it makes a difference. And I think that's important. There's also a lot of bad baseball out there, but I just don't, you don't think of Montana as like prime baseball territory all the time. The other thing too, though, is they're almost all of them. There's very few kids that specialize out here. I mean, Tyson does track and basketball. He didn't play basketball his senior year after he signed and everything, decided not to, which didn't hurt my feelings. I didn't want to, bang up a knee or anything going in. But, on varsity for 2 years before that, does track. He would have done football, but he played fall baseball. We've got on the Legion team, I had 2 or 3 kids that will sign for football. Basketball, they're all multi-sport kids because there's 7,000 people in our town. We expect you to play everything. So, I think that is important, because you see a lot of kids out there that just play one sport. And I mean, to me, I think it, you can have all the coaches in the world and the strength coaches in the world, but sometimes the things you're taught from playing football, from playing basketball, the agility aspect, with track, teaching you how to run, just different things. I think it provides you a level of training that some kids don't get. So you're looking at more of a raw athlete out here who maybe isn't as refined as maybe a kid out west who, logs some hours with cage time and everything like that. I mean, not everybody has indoor facilities either, it's not, and there's not in the bigger cities now, you're getting some DBATs and some other private facilities, but there isn't like, when I was out in Tacoma this fall, Tyson came out and we went to elite level, the one in Tacoma, and went over there for afternoon call and see if we could get in. There isn't just a place where you can drop in and there's 5 cages and a whole area for throwing and ground balls. Like you just don't have that in Montana. Most places don't. So you don't necessarily get the work. I mean, like I respect the hell out of Washington kids because they don't complain about playing in the rain. And they don't complain about that mist that you play in and the ball's wet. They do not complain about it. They don't like it, but they're used to it. So I think that part of it, I don't, there are obviously in the bigger cities, Bozeman's really produced a lot of good players, as is Missoula. You have some of the kids that they're still going to be multi-sport athletes, but they maybe are putting in more time because they have the facilities. Like, I feel pretty spoiled with the facilities we have. At the same time, we don't let them just go up there whenever they want because we don't trust them. But, we're still up there. I mean, like if a kid calls me or any of the assistants, we'll open it for them, and that's pretty much every other day. But we don't, I feel really blessed. Like when I was growing up, we didn't have any of that. We had the high school gym. You couldn't hit, you couldn't do any of that stuff. So the thinking, and it's gotten better, but I do think that like Washington kids are a little more skilled. There's more coaching. Like our Little League program out here and stuff. Like they start the Little League program in Montana in April. End of mid-April. It's ass cold out here, and they're making little kids go out there and play, and then they're done before June 1st. So when it actually gets nice, they're not even playing baseball. And we have a couple select teams or all-star teams they call them that play, but we're not getting the numbers because they make it miserable for kids not to want to play. And then also you got a lot of parents, well, I need to take vacation time, and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, you have the kid, man. You're the kid. You give up vacation time. Yeah. So I don't know, that's part of the problem too. I spent so much time. I mean, even with Tyson, and I've been working with him since 7th grade, but just like fixing stuff that I never thought I'd have to fix and teaching stuff I never thought I'd have to teach. I'm teaching 14-year-old kids that should know better about not putting your thumb on the side of the ball when you go to throw, but tucking it underneath, or just how to grip a bat properly. Our kids, a lot of kids, unless their dad has played or is really into it, we get kids that are really, really raw, and we have to reteach so much stuff. and just the basics of teaching kids how to throw. Because part of it is too, and I know you guys know this, and my niece down in Denver, she's a really good softball player. Kids only practice unless they have practice or they have a lesson or they have to go to their lesson with their coach. You don't just get out and play catch, and there are kids now that are playing wiffle ball and stuff. I know Adam's son is like this YouTube sensation of playing wiffle ball in the backyard, but you can't get kids to just go hang out and play or go work on their own. It's always got to be structured. Is it a practice? Is it a workout? Am I with a coach? What we really impressed upon our kids is like, we have a really nice facility, and we have, especially for our outdoor field stuff, we have nice cages. Go up there on your own. Like, we can't go up there all the time. And we try to impress upon them. It was like, if you only do the stuff at practice and whatever, that's as good as you're going to be. And you have to do it more than that, like, it's not complicated. I try to tell those guys, like, the better kids that we've had over the years, we had a kid named Ethan Carlson who, he didn't play, but he hit 460. He was up there all the time on his own. Like, he went all the time. The reason that he got good is because he just put hours upon hours, and he didn't have somebody telling him to do it. And he didn't ask for anybody to go up there. He might call and say, hey, can you front toss to me or whatever, but he would get just as much work in off the tee and understanding what he was trying to do and where he needed to get dialed, and he just like, I just like to swing the bat every day for the feel of it, and that's what you want to tell kids is like, this isn't, people get good, not just because they're talented, they get good because they put in hours, especially in a sport like baseball or even like basketball, where you got to shoot, it's just not the raw strength of it all. You have to have some skill behind it. And that's the problem. I think you see that in a lot of Montana towns, is just like the level of youth coaching isn't great. And there isn't, a ton of opportunity to get better either. Like, I'm sure you guys all deal with crazy little league coaches from time to time, but like, there's still opportunities for kids to get better if they want to. We don't necessarily have that, and I'm not going to be that guy that's out there charging $75 a lesson for, kids to come in and hit. That's just not how I do it.
I think the biggest thing that's changed too is that, like, I remember being a kid and like being on the old dial up phone, like calling my buddies, let's go to the elementary school, let's fire up a game. It could be 4 people, it could be 15, right? And we would just go out and play backyard baseball because we loved to do it, or we played, diving for balls in the outfield or backyard, or creating stupid games, or hitting as much as we could, or whatever we could. You build, whether you're structured like the player you talked about that goes to the cages all the time and hits, or you're just always doing something, swinging something, wiffle ball, backyard, whatever. Like, you start to build that kinesthetic awareness of your own swing, your own body, of how things move. And that's where you build your adjustability. You build your feel. You build, like, I just swung and missed, but I've swung the bat 1 billion times in my life. I know how to adjust to be able to hit that the next time, right? Whereas, like you said, it's like, okay, practice is over. I got my 30 swings in today. I'm going to go back on my cell phone or video game or whatever it is and shut it down for the night. Where I think us as kids, like, we were always looking for that next thing. Like, we want to go do something else because we like to compete and like to do things. And I'm not to be the old man that yells at clouds and say these kids these days, like, I'm not quite old enough to be doing that yet, but like, I don't know. I just feel it's different. Like, you don't see that backyard stuff. I think I saw a video. I don't know if it was Shane Bieber or something was driving home the other day and saw some kids playing wiffle ball in the yard or something and pulled over and signed autographs and like chatted them up or whatever. Like, those are the things that we should be celebrating, right? The kids that are just out having fun and doing the old Sandlot thing.
Well, that's what makes it fun. I mean, like, I like practice as much as anyone. I love putting in cage time, but like, that's a grind. Whereas, like, just go out, have fun. We go to this one park and take a bunch of tennis balls and play home run derby. We take the little league bat and play home run derby. Just trying to. But it's the same thing. It's like with throwing. If you want to get better at throwing, you got to throw, but you don't have to throw controlled all the time. Like wall ball or whatever we were playing. We're always throwing. You play pickle or whatever. You're always doing something. You're throwing. You're learning how to throw on your own without being just, okay, I got to get here and I got to equal. It's all just throw. But that kids don't do that as much anymore. They're not as active. You see it sometimes, but like it's just different.
Yeah, I think part of it too, the parents don't encourage as much. I think we as parents, and, I see in myself at times, we get a little preoccupied with work and our jobs. And I think there's a lot higher demand of individuals than we've ever had, and I think this part of it is too, we get a lot of distractions and, video games and electronics and things that, all of a sudden you're thumbing through X or your Snapchat or whatever. And then an hour or two goes by and you're like, whoa, what happened to my time? So, trying to find those balances, not that's bad, but utilizing technology in a manner that's, it's created to be used for, in a helpful environment. Ryan, I want to ask you though, how do you keep that balance between, you're talking about some of those 14-year-olds come in, and they're not properly throwing the ball right, to some more of your elite players, and trying to keep that a healthy balance within a practice. I know you see some coaches just say, well, you can't do it. We're going to have you go catch fly balls over here, and just the coaches just hitting them. And of course they're going over their head or cutting short, and they're not, maybe giving a few pointers here and there. But how do you keep that healthy balance at your guys' practices?
Well, we try to put an older kid with a younger kid in groups, like when we have our groups. So we want to have some of our older kids, and we have them teach each other too. Like, because part of it is too, is like, what was the old saying? Before you ever play, you should coach. Like having these kids try and teach their other teammates, hey, you're doing this, try this or whatever, and we're still watching. So if they're giving them bad advice, we'll tell them. But like having them interact with each other about what they're seeing, what they're looking for, makes them more aware of what they're doing as well. And so we would always try to have, we'd split it up. If it's an infield group, you have a couple 18-year-olds plus a couple 14-year-olds, a couple 15-year-olds, show them, watch them, so we can say, hey, watch how he does this. And I think that's important. Like you talk to the MLB players and all those rookies talk about like who took them under their wing. It was always Seager, showed them how to do stuff. Here's how you act. Here's what we do. Here's how you go about your workouts and everything else. Cal Raleigh's great with that with the catchers. So we tried to do that, because I think it's sometimes too, if we're sitting there telling them how to do it all the time, our voice gets hollow. It means a lot more if somebody else is, like one of their teammates is telling them. We'll do the more refined stuff or the more technical stuff. I'll be over the cages and say, hey, you're not in this position. But a lot of times though, if you have older kids there, they're watching, they can see it, and then they'll see it in themselves, and we try and video as much as we can, just because kids are a screen generation, and see it and show them. Because, you tell a kid to move their hands an inch, like, hey, you need to get here a little bit more. To them, it feels like they're, oh my God, I got my hands so far back. I look like an idiot, and you show them it's like this much, and so it's like, but yeah. And to be like, our older kids were great about that, because we had good older kids before them that were good with them. And so they've understood the pay it back thing. They don't, I think that's important. And honestly, like there were times this year where we had guys dinged up, whatever. I had 14-year-olds in the game, in games that mattered, in conference games. And like, if they're not ready to go, or if they're not capable of handling that, and you're midway through the season, they've been with you, then it's your fault that they're not ready to go, not theirs. So you better teach them. Like we hold them all to the same standard, and we try to find ways to get them in and include them. And, we had this one young kid, he's 14, and we were playing a game, and we had some kids gone or whatever. And he's such a good kid, and he works so hard. And I just went up to him. I was like, hey man, you're at second base. And he goes, like, he goes, because he's in between games. I get you at second base this game. He goes, you want me to rake it out? I go, no, I don't want you to rake out second. I want you to get ready to go play second base. He goes, I'm playing? I go, yeah, you're starting this game. There's just look of panic on his face. And I go, breathe, just breathe. And I go, why don't you go over to the cages, grab one of the kids, get your tee work in so you can get loose, and, we'll get you some ground balls in between. And he's just like, he didn't know where to go. He didn't know what to do. And I just go over there, and then I think I told his dad, and his dad was probably even more freaked out than he was, yes. And of course, first ball of the game, like one hopper right at him, fielded it, caught it, threw it to first. And it's like, nice. Okay, but like, if you don't find opportunities for those kids, even kids, that might struggle, you're not giving them a reason to play, like, and so we tried to find ways and like keep them all involved. And we carried some even 13-year-olds from our B team. Like, we put them on our home roster. They were on our roster, so they'd be in the home dugout. And I told them, like, one time I was like, hey, get in there and pinch run. It was a 13-year-old. He was fast. I go, get in there and pinch run. He's like, me? I don't know the signs. I go, yeah, it doesn't matter. Neither do an 18-year-old. You'll be fine. Just get in there. So, I mean, if not, because like when I played Legion, we had 12, 18-year-olds on the team. My first year, I was 16. And this was back when, you had to be 16 to even try out. And so I sat a ton. I was little compared to everybody else. So I sat like 75, 80 straight innings, and I honestly knew I didn't deserve to play because the kids were big and I wasn't very strong. I was skilled, but like, I just was weak. And, and at that time though, it meant so much to me. I didn't want to quit, but like, you're trying to keep kids out. You got to give them a reason why they want to stay out, because it's a grind. Baseball's a grind. There's a lot of things else they could be doing during their summer. So you got to keep, and we had enough B games too that we got kids playing time, but like, the carrot is the A game when there's lots of people there, and you're wearing the good uniforms and everything like that. Get them out there sometimes. Let them feel it. Because also it just gives them an idea like, okay, man, I was out there. Like, I got to work a little harder because I might go back in. And that's important.
That's awesome. Well, let's wrap this up with one quick listener question, and we're going to keep it lighthearted tonight. I'm going to add a little bit at the end of it. But Dustin Minga goes, any Divish ejections this year, close calls? And I'm going to add, did you have to crash Davis anybody?
So yeah, I got ejected twice this year. I didn't swear either time. I didn't. So we were in Fort McLeod, Alberta, which is just south of the middle of nowhere. And we were playing, and we had an umpire, and in the first inning of the first game, like in the very first inning, one of the fans, who happened to be the opposing coach's dad, was yelling at him. It's this old dude yelling at him. He kicked the dad out of there. He stopped, and then he threatened to leave because the fans were giving him a hard time. And we're one inning into this, and I'm like, oh my god. And so, whatever, they kicked the guy out. Then they let him back in, and then the ump is, he wasn't terrible or whatever, but he had that reputation for being kind of a pain in the ass. So I didn't say much. We were winning pretty easily, but our starter got to his innings limit, and we're up, I think 6 or 7 runs. And so we put in like probably a reliever who didn't pitch much, and it got a little hairy, and so it's bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the 7th, or bottom of the 7th. All we need is 1 strike. So my guy throws a 2-2 pitch, just right down the middle. I'm like, I go, oh man, I go, you've been great all game. I go, we got to have that. I mean, you can't miss that now. You've been great. And the guy goes, don't argue balls and strikes with me. And I said, I'm not arguing balls and strikes. I'm giving you a compliment. And then a bunch of our fans started laughing. And he goes, you know what? I'm done with you. You're gone. I go, you're throwing me out with 3-2 pitch. I go with 3-2 with 1 pitch left in the game. He goes, get out of here. And so I was like, fine. So I finally said, like, nobody came to see you, so I let him have it a bit. So he one-eyed Jack stares me all the way out and walks me out to make sure I leave the stadium, which is like the size of, it's a tiny little stadium. So I get out there, and our bus driver goes, you want me to open up the bus? I go, we're going to need 1 more pitch and we're going to win. All of a sudden I hear strike 3. And I'm like, yeah, walk back in, shake hands. So I was like, and then like the opposing coaches apologized to me. I was like, whatever, So then we get to like a week later, we get to districts, and we're in this semifinal game against Vauxhall, and they're good. And this is, so like I said this on Jason Puckett's podcast, but like we're down 8 runs going in the bottom of the 7th, and we score 8 with 2 outs, and we scored the 9th, but they called my guy out at first. And I tweeted out the video. The guy dropped the ball, but the ump pulled his head. So he thought he picked it, and the ump rang him and turned around, and then the guy picks it up, and I'm like, oh my God. So I didn't freak out right away because I'm like, well, we have a 3-man crew because this is a district semifinal. I was like, we have a 3-man crew. So I go, hey, I need help. Can you No. They called him out. I was like, so I lost my mind, but I didn't get kicked out because like it's tie game, we're going into extra innings and we're trying to win it. So then we lose it. We lose the game. in extra innings, and we have to go play the second semifinal to get back into the championship. Well, in between, there's a game, and I'm watching the game changer, and I'm watching how bad this call is. One, he's safe originally, and two, the guy drops the ball. So he was safe twice, and then the ump, who's the UIC, is just that guy that walks around like this, super mechanical, and lets me know that he's done this. And I'm like, he's about the show. So I go to the umpire commissioner, I said to him, or the umpire, the head of the umpires that's working the tournament, or the tournament director, I said, hey, look at this. I was like, this is absurd. I go, like, this is terrible. And I'm like, I didn't get tossed out, but you got to show this guy that. And he goes, well, I want to do it now, but so we get out, we end up going to the next game, and same guy's back at first base again. I'm like, oh my God. And then the coincidence of all coincidence, my college roommate was my college roommate. Played first base. I played Legion with him. We've been teammates since 12 years old. He was the home plate umpire. So we get out there, and I'm just steaming. Like, I don't say anything. So he's doing the home plate meeting. I don't say a word. And it's probably a mistake for me even going out there. And it's just the assistant, the pregame meeting. So I don't say a word, and my buddy Mike is real gregarious. He's like talking. He's like, Ryan, you have anything? I go, no. I go, I don't have anything to say, but I go, there's at least one person here. I go, well, one of the other umpires. I go, there's two other people in here who have something to say. They owe my kids an apology after this game. And I walked off. And then they're like, oh, so then they were on me the whole game. So what happens is it's a close game. We're winning relatively easy, but there's a play at the plate and there's a collision. And my college roommate calls us for interference. And I was like, no, ask for help, Mike, ask for help. Like he went up the line to get the ball. It's a collision. It wasn't blocking. I go, he has every right to go get the ball. I go, it's a no call. I go, he should be, I said the kid should have been out. And so then they meet, and the UIC, overrules him. But my buddy says it wrong, and I freak out. I go, wait, how? And so then he's explaining to me. So then the UIC is coming over because he's going to take charge of the situation. I go, you stay there. I don't need to talk to you anymore. I'm done talking with you for the rest of the tournament. And he goes, you know what? You're gone. I go, for what? I told you to stay there. And I was just like, and so I lost my mind on him. I'm like, this is terrible. I go, like, you still owe our kids an apology. You blew that call. I go, I didn't swear once. I've never sworn with you. And I was like, I'm so sick of you and the show you put on. And so I storm off. And then we win the game. And then they say, the UIC says, well, I just don't know if I can have him coaching the championship game because he's so hostile to me. So then they suspend me for the championship.
Oh.
But then they did us dirty in the championship because it starts to rain. So we sit down for about an hour and a half. Then they force us back because there's 4 1/3. They force us back out there so that we can make 2 more outs so they can bang it. And then they won't stay for the if necessary. They won't play it the next day, even though we have built-in time for the next day. They're all like, we got to get out of here. So they did us dirty, and nobody wanted to admit it. And the worst part was when they put us back out there to play, and even when they were before, they had us out on the field, and they had the lightning thing on. It was less than a mile away from the field, and they had us out there. And they had pulled us the night before when it was 5 miles out. They said the rule is 5. And we have one of the parents is a pilot, so he has the deal, the same one they have. He's showing the tournament director, hey, this is less than 1 mile away. We can see it over the trees behind the field. And I'm in the bus, and I can't get a hold of my assistant coach because I would have pulled our kids off the field early. It's like a day before, a kid got killed in Texas for getting struck by lightning in the outfield. And I'm like, and that was the hardest thing is, so like after all that went down, and they won't let us play again. And then I told the director, I'm like, you should be the one to go tell these guys that you just ended their season because you guys are too soft. You can't make a decision. And the commissioner's not around and he won't take the call. And he went down there to try and do it. And he just stumbled off. I was hey guys, we're done. Here's why. And I said to him, and I said with that guy listening, I said, we've preached all year to you about being accountable for your mistakes, owning your mistakes, being accountable to each other, and being upstanding in all this. And I go, every adult in this tournament has failed you because they can't do the same. And I said, the hard way. And like we had kids that didn't want to play anymore after that. Like, why would we do this? Like they screwed us, And so like that was horrible. Like that was the way our season ended. I remember the next day I just like broke down because I couldn't justify, like, how do I talk to these guys and tell them that everything we preached about the game and everything that we wanted to, and like, if you do these things, it will be right, that every adult that they encountered throughout that tournament did the opposite and nothing happened. And so that was like my biggest frustration. And that's part of the reason why I wish I could come back and coach this year, is to go stick it to a bunch of people. But so that was a tough way to end. And honestly, like, what's crazy is the team that won the regionals, that finished second state, won regionals, we were right with them. We lost by 1. The teams that made us, we were easily one of the best teams in the state. I mean, I had 2 kids, 2 college level pitchers, my stepson. We had a catcher that had a ton of college interest. He just would rather go be a plumber. I got another shortstop that was a college level player. We had the team, and like, we didn't get that opportunity. And the other thing was too, is like, we had a 9-team conference, and they only took 2 from our district, and one of the teams was the host team. So they went 11-35, and they got a host state, so they went state, but they didn't take the extra team. I was just like, how do you do this? We have 9 teams in our conference. We have more than anybody else. So, and Montana Legion isn't all it's cracked up to be. That's for certain in some ways. That's all we got.
That's right. Well, man, that's a bummer way to end that season, when adults get in the way.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part, is like, adults ruin sports more than anybody, and like, and then we had such a great parent group this year, and we had such great support from our community. Like, one of our games, I bet you we had 700 or 800 people there watching our games. It helped we were serving beer at one of them, but come on, like, it's like, it's just like, you do all that, and like the kid said, the one kid said, he goes, I've been busting my ass since October. Like, on days I didn't want to go, I still went, and this is how they do us. He's like, like, how is that fair? And that's why I said to him, like, this is the one teaching moment at this. None of it's fair, but life isn't fair. You're going to find this in jobs and everything else. So, not the kind of teachable moment I wanted, but
no, that's frustrating. Well,
and then I got to come back and cover the playoffs. So that was kind of cool.
Were you worried about coming back and them going on a losing streak?
Oh my God. I mean, honestly, like, they were. And my buddy Alex Akita, who's the biggest smart ass on Twitter, was fostering that argument, letting people know. And I'm like, but like, they got on a heater. And then I didn't go on that first road trip where they went to Philly and I think Baltimore and New York, and they got their butts kicked. I'm like, oh man, here we go. But then they got going again. So I don't know. That part was, I mean, like, it made it better, like, to come back, and they were good. But like, I was still bitter about the whole way my season ended for most of the summer. Even now, as you can tell,
it's going to be there for a while. Yeah. Well, we are excited to show you. Jason actually just got the pallet today. You're going to be one of our first gifts that I don't know if you drink wine. I know you drink whiskey, but we got Fungo Banner wine.
Oh yeah.
And we'll talk to you off air and how to get it to you, but we're announcing that today that we got pallets of wine to give away. Who would have?
What kind of wine is it?
It's a Syrah.
Oh yeah.
It's a
100% it's a red.
It's a red.
Yeah, hey,
it's the one in the glass.
Pasta and steaks. Yeah, pastas and steaks.
Pastas and steaks. Yeah,
that's right.
Heck yeah. Awesome. Well, we'll talk off air about how to get that to you. But Ryan, thank you so much for coming on tonight, especially right before Christmas and everything, to talk some baseball with us.
Hey, I really appreciate it. It was fun. I mean, it's like, I hadn't really gotten to kind of talk about the whole season again in a while. So it was kind of, you have some time to think about it again. And it was, I mean, yeah, it didn't end the way I wanted, but like, I told the kids at the time that it was the best summer of my life. I mean, honestly, like, I hadn't been able to do that. I mean, like, my parents are older too, so getting to be around my parents all summer and everything else, I wouldn't change it. It was definitely needed.
Yeah, no, I was so happy to hear when you did that, because I just had a feeling it was going to be such an amazing time to do that. So
yeah, I'm not writing a book on it though.
No, audio podcast about it. That's right. Awesome. Well, thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it.